Rino Tirakatane.
Tēnā koe, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Talofa lava to all of our folks out there watching in recognition of Samoan Language Week. Mr. Speaker, I'm pleased to rise and to oppose this dreadful budget, sir. Sir, we've had 5 years of this national government, and when they came to power, we heard all the promises about the brighter future, how they would be creating jobs, lifting wages, growing the economy, making New Zealand a better place to live. Well, sir, those promises have turned out to be absolutely false. After 5 years, John Key has let New Zealanders down, sir. But he hasn't let down all Kiwis. No, sir. He's looked after the movie moguls, the casino operators, those with the capital and wealth base underneath them. That's the base of the National Party. But he hasn't looked after all Kiwis, sir. And that's why they've created this two-speed economy. And now the speakers opposite have spoken about how they've got this momentum going, and that we on this side of the House are going to be sending New Zealand backwards. Well, that is totally misinformed, sir, because they've got a complete mix-up between speed and direction. Because if they wanted to turn things around and go forward, they will be going backwards, and that's exactly where they've taken our country, sir. Because if we look at the actual failures of this national government, it's been appalling. They talked about rebalancing the economy, delivering more export growth, and that's what we all want. We definitely want more export growth. That's what we need to move forward as a country. We need to get our tradable sector thriving. We need to grow those exports and, sell our wares to the world and make some money. But what has happened under this government? We have seen the worst, we have actually as a country the worst current account deficit in the whole world. #1 in the world. That means we are spending more on imports and on interest than what we're earning as a country. Now, if that's rebalancing the economy, well, I don't really know what planet Mr. English is on, because that has been an absolute failure, and it's only going to be getting worse. The projections are that that will be getting worse, and it's a very dangerous sign for our country and our economy. Because as we know, worldwide, countries are debasing their currencies. We've got asset bubble prices, bubbles that are blowing up all over the place. We've got stock markets that are blowing up, all based on printing press money from big major countries around the world. And this is putting a huge amount of pressure on our whole financial system. Everything is teetering on the edge, and this government doesn't want to know about it. But when the bubble pops, and like all bubbles they will pop at some stage, it is going to signal a huge blow, not only to our economy, but to the global economy, sir. And I think we need to be mindful of that, because the side opposite are talking about how great it has been that there's been record low interest rates. And sure, we welcome low interest rates, but the reason why the interest rates are low, sir, is because the world economy and our economy has been so sick. And that's why you lower the interest rates, because you want to try and rev things up. The problem is we have had going on, 7 years of record low interest rates, and ours are really high compared to the rest of the world, and yet it actually hasn't generated the economic growth, because this government has been too concerned with looking after their own base, their own rich, elite, select group of the National Party support base than they have been towards looking after all of the whānau across Aotearoa, sir. And so that is a very dangerous situation that we find ourselves in, because when interest rates do rise, it's actually going to catch a lot of people out, because this government has been so concerned about, so preoccupied about reaching surplus in 2014, that they've forgotten about the finances of everyday Kiwis. And everyday Kiwis are actually struggling. We're maxed out. They have been, as our current account deficit shows, we are more indebted than ever, and that's putting huge pressure on families. And that's why we've got this two-speed economy, sir. But the two-speed economy it doesn't just apply in terms of just household finances. We're seeing it right across the whole country. If we look at the geographically, there's definitely a North-South Island spread going on there. I'm actually quite fortunate. I cover a huge electorate. I cover the whole of the South Island, and there are some regions who are actually doing quite well in relation to their agricultural, pastoral sectors, and so I commend that. But if you look at sectors, regions in the North Islands, particularly in the far north, Hawke's Bay, Ikaroa Rāwhiti, the area covered by that electorate, huge amounts of inequality happening up there because they are struggling, and this government really hasn't had a plan to really help those regions. They've neglected the regions, and that's why we've seen such terribly high unemployment numbers coming through, sir. And we also see that two-speed economy is applying age-wise, sir. Younger New Zealanders are being locked out of that home ownership. They would like to aspire to own their own home and get on that property ladder, but the way that the property bubbles are going, again, the properties are being held by that wealthy class who have the capital and have the wealth base, which is preventing, and who want the tax-free capital gains that are there, preventing new people, the new young people, the new generation coming through to actually get on that property ladder. And it's all because this government has set the wrong signals. They've skewed the whole property ownership model because of the fact that they are encouraging property bubbles to occur through the fact that they have been, we have had a low interest rate environment, no capital gains tax and the like, and again that does put a lot of pressure on those young people who want to get there, but the older generation, obviously they're looking out for their own retirement and they want to hold on or charge the rent and private rental accommodation, and so they want to generate an income for themselves going into the future. So we have a real mismatch there, sir, caused by this government between our young generation and our older generation in terms of property ownership. And of course, and then it comes down to, sir, this two speeds is around fairness. We have seen the largest growth in inequality in this country under this national government, sir. Income disparity, sir, is at its widest. And it's very much pronounced, sir, when we look at the Māori community itself. And because that is the electorate that I represent. And, you know, it is, when you see the deprivation and the hardship out there, it does break your heart. And it can be addressed. And I know that we've had the Prime Minister today talk about, they've made the announcement about providing some support for the Food in Schools program. And while we support that, why has it taken so long? Why has this government, we had the budget, over a week ago. They sort of signalled it prior to the budget, but then there was nothing in the budget itself, and now we've had to wait another week and a half, and then something's come out. I think something must be up in that, around the National Government Cabinet tables there, because it's taken too long for that to come through. But what it shows, sir, is that there is incredible hardship and poverty out there. We have 270,000 children living in poverty. It's just way too much, sir. And the rising unemployment rates among Māori people are absolutely horrendous. When I look at the unemployment rates for Māori, basically 14% for Māori, and Pacific, 15.2%. Those are horrendous unemployment rates that apply to all of us, all Māori, all Pacific people, right across the board. And so we have to change this government so we can actually address those issues, because I fear, sir, that if we continue down this track, put in this budget, it's not going to be able to really address those pressing issues that are really desperate cries coming out from those hard-working families out there, sir. And just in conclusion, sir, I'd just like to say that I mentioned before there's a preoccupation with surplus with this budget. They think that by coming to 2014, they can get to the surplus. But at the end of the day, it's been constructed on bogus numbers. bogus numbers, because we see that there's approximately $3 billion of numbers in that budget which are a complete sham. I'm talking about the overcharging for the ACC, $700 million, the so-called $1.1 billion of extra corporate tax, which they think is just going to suddenly appear, and we're talking about tax credits which they've booked in as revenue, which no one knows where they're going to come from. So, sir, this is a dreadful budget. We oppose it 100%, and we look forward to getting rid of this government. Kia ora tātou.
Mr. Speaker.
I call the Honourable Minister, Dr.
Poor old
Jonathan
Reno
Coleman.
McCartney. Look, he's in